Hello, third graders, and happy Thursday, but also happy October. Hopefully, it's going to cool down soon so that we can be outside more. Maybe you guys have some fun fall activities you like to do, like carving pumpkins or anything like that. Today, we are going to continue our lesson with the seeds of greatness. So, let me go ahead and share my screen with you. And as a reminder, we went over the introduction, and then on Tuesday, this is when I read it to you guys on Tuesday. And then Wednesday in our live session, we went over this a little bit. But let's go ahead and continue reading this. Archaeologists have found evidence in Mycenaean religion of many gods and goddesses associated with classical Greece. They include Athena, Aphrodite, Ares, with the sea god Poseidon atop the pantheon. So those are a lot of the different 12 Olympians. We know that Athena is the god of wisdom and battle. Aphrodite is the god of love, and then Ares is the god of war. And of course, here it says the sea god Poseidon. According to legend, black bulls were sacrificed to Poseidon at Pylos, a city on the southwestern coast of the mainland. Pylos was a major trade center connected by common interests with merchants and ruling aristocrats at Tiryns, Mycenae, and Athens. On Crete, the Mycenaeans sometimes worshipped in holy places established centuries earlier by the Minoans. By 1200 BCE, the palace of Pylos was burned by invaders and lay in ruins. Some Mycenaean towns, including Athens, suffered little damage at the hands of invaders. However, over the next centuries, Mycenaean culture declined. Gold and silver objects were no longer produced, and handsome palace paintings were no longer created. Trade in tin was halted, and the manufacturing of bronze, which required tin, ceased. The Greeks turned instead to local deposits of iron ore and began making weapons with iron. People were no longer taught to read or write, and communities became isolated as trade ended. Greece entered a grim period for 3 centuries and would not emerge until 800 BCE. During this period, called the Greek Dark Age, people migrated and settled in other regions. So the word migrated means that people moved to different places. There was a widespread cultural change. Ethnic groups established new colonies and spoke different forms of the language. Archaeologists still find evidence of wealth and status in burial mounds. However, with women occasionally wearing gold, as agricultural settlements slowly began to prosper, trade with groups from the east increased. Greeks in the Dark Age sometimes traded slaves for gold, textiles, and ivory. Yet the peace of recovery was slow until a dramatic turnabout in the 8th century BCE. Pottery grew more complex during the Archaic period. Okay, so let's move in to the Archaic period. Hopefully you have been looking at the different pottery designs or anything like that. So I hope that you see the relation to all of what we've learned before. The 13th century, stretching from approximately 750 BCE to 52 CE, saw the full flowering of classical Greek civilization. The early part of this period is known as the Archaic Greece. This cultural rebirth was accompanied by increasing population, improvements in shipbuilding that expanded trade, and higher agricultural production. So that means that they had more farming. Early Dark Age pottery had been small and simple, using basic geometric shapes as decoration. The size of pots and complexity and variety of their patterns began to increase before the Greek rebirth. The presence of certain patterns and designs indicate that the Greeks had broadened their trade networks. Some of the designs may have been consciously patterned on those of textile. Aside from a handful of earlier examples, human figures on pottery were introduced in the 700s BCE. The largest pots made to honor heroes slain in battle are nearly 5 feet tall. Some pots show full battle scenes. So go ahead and look at this piece of writing. You can see The Phoenician alphabet formed in the basis ancient Greek writing. So take a couple seconds to look here. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. The first phase of the Greek rebirth was also marked by the appearance of a new and flexible alphabet. The Greeks began to use the Phoenician alphabet, modifying it to suit their purpose. The new script was often used to inscribe offerings to the gods, usually with the name of the person making the offering and the god whom it was made. In addition, the script was used to record commercial dealings, thereby helping to build trade. It could also be used to record the oral traditions of Greece's Dark Age authors. This period witnessed the rise of the city-states or polis. Eventually, there would be hundreds of them. City-states strengthened local loyalties and provided an opportunity to create a fairer, more balanced society. City-states adopted gods whom they looked to for protection, and altars and temples were built to worship. The gods, Athens and Sparta. Athens, remember, that is a city, and Sparta were built temples to Athena. Corinth built temples to Apollo, and Samos built them to Hera. So look, Athena, Apollo, and Hera. As city-states accumulated more wealth, they competed with one another to build the grandest temple. That means they wanted to be the best in each place. As populations boomed by the 6th century BCE, city-states constructed paved streets and built fountains and large public buildings. Each city-state maintained its own army to protect its border. So it says here, many city-states featured impressive buildings and paved streets. So this is what it looked like. You can see here, there's probably lots of different Greek mythology gods, and the top has creatures. Look at all of the details here. As the population increased, Greek culture was affected from top to bottom. It fostered the rise of a mercantile class, which means related to trade. The growing population created land shortages, which put wealthy landowners in conflict with the poor. Merchants now, with a path of wealth and influence, stood as a threat to the aristocracy. Merchants demanded political power, and internal conflict was common. City-states fought with one another for control of important agricultural resources. In around 700 BCE, Chalux and Eretica fought for control of the fertile Leontine plain. This is a plot of land which lay between them on the island of Euboea off the eastern coast of present-day Greece. The conflict drew other city-states onto war as one another took sides in the ongoing fighting. Though Chalus won the control, both it and Eretica were weakened. Corinth, meanwhile, grew in stature and influence as a result of the Leontine War, absorbing much of Chalkix. In the First Messenian War, Sparta battled with Messenia for nearly 20 years, finally defeating the city-state in about 724 BCE. Many surviving Messians fled to other city-states. Those who did not flee were forced to become helots, working the land and supporting the citizens of Sparta. Sparta changed rapidly and became an even more powerful military force. Sparta's male citizens were now obligated to serve as soldiers. Meanwhile, Athens experienced widespread social unrest because each of Athens' 60 aristocratic clans participated in the election of the city-state's ruling judges, or archons. The clans often jockeyed for power. After their term in office, archons would take their place in the Council of the Archipagus, which controlled political life in Athens. In addition, each clan controlled territory on the Attic Peninsula, which projects into the Aegean inland. Disputes inevitably arose. In a failed revolt led by the aristocrat Cylon in 634 BCE, the rival clan of the victorious Alcmadians moved to have Cylon's clan slaughtered. Even though it had sought protection at Temple of the Gods, the other clans considered this an outrage and expelled the Alcmadians from the Attic Peninsula. The Alcmadians' buried ancestors were removed from their graves, and their remains were placed beyond the boundary to calm the angry gods. So here's a picture of battle. You can see the chariot. Okay, we are going to go ahead and continue that more tomorrow. So your job today, I have posted your spelling words For this week, you will not have a spelling quiz tomorrow. You're going to have that on Tuesday. So today I would like you to review those spelling words, but you don't have to do a spelling menu or anything. Maybe at the dinner table, recite it to an adult. Maybe have them have your words, ask them how to spell it so that you're ready to go. Tomorrow we will have a live session, so be ready for that. Once you hang up here, you will need to complete the 2 worksheets that I post on your page today. And then we will also go over that tomorrow. Have a good day.